are coming to the end of day 2 of Escaide, another great day of conversations and discussions. Just want to reflect a little bit on what we have heard. Delighted to join me on the stage, Pekka Jokolainen, who is head of section at Statham Serum Institute. Pekka, do come up, please. We also have Ricardo Mesha, who is a medical doctor and master of public health and in the EPIET Fellowship Program and president of Infectious Disease Control section in the European Public Health Federation, and Myrtil Brute, who is co-founder of CIGE, a public health consultancy. Great to have you with us. I'm dying to ask Greg to come back to explain why he chose to spend his 10th wedding anniversary at Escaide. No greater advert can there be, I think, for the event. But let's just dive in. And Pekka, from your perspective, what were the main highlights of today for you?
That was an easy question to me. That's clearly the One Health, the focus on One Health. I really liked how it was discussed and also hearing about how it's been applied. These achievements like the cross-agency task force on One Health, that's quite something. And also the high ambition level, going for integrating it and mainstreaming it. So I feel like there's One Health in the air, so I feel good.
And was this an issue, is this an issue you've been focused on yourself? I mean, we had a little survey at the beginning.
I was saying the pioneering and a lot.
You're at the pioneering end of it, so very much one that was music to your ears. Thank you very much. Ricardo, what would you highlight in particular?
Thank you, Jackie. Well, there's so much to do and see, so it's difficult to choose. I quite enjoyed the wastewater surveillance plenary. It was, some of it connects with something I do. It's very specific, but mass gatherings and festivals in particular could have a chance to monitor some consumption using wastewater from the specific events. So that's one opportunity for development. But I also was very happy to hear about several of the presentations. One about how other communicable disease was left behind due to the COVID pandemic and the changes in the impact of those other diseases. We had the General Assembly of EAN, which is also a very important moment in the year, and the ongoing elections. There's a lot of expectation on the results. And also enjoyed the One Health.
You've been busy, workshop. Rushing from session to session all day
difficult
long.
To choose, actually, and
Myrtil,
what to do.
You've been rushing from session to session too. What would you highlight in particular?
So there was lots of interesting things today. I wanted to highlight maybe this morning in the fireside session on surveillance, I was very interested in a study that was done by ECDC on the impact of school closures on the work-life balance. And that really resonated with me because in 2020, I was teleworking with a 2-year-old at home, so. and also I wanted to make the link because I was part of the, I participated in the pre-conference workshop on the evidence-informed decision-making, and one thing that came up a lot on our discussions was the importance of multidisciplinary teams, especially when we respond to public health events. And I think, especially if we include the social sciences, maybe it will be easier to identify and maybe foresee this type of consequences that can happen in our interventions.
And absolutely touching, and I think therefore you'll be very interested in our last plenary session tomorrow morning, which is going to focus on the post-pandemic public health workforce. I mean, I was going to ask you, Myrtil, this time I'll start with you, about your key takeaways today. Was this multidisciplinarity something you were already acutely aware of, or is it something that's been really reinforced for you, listening to the discussions here?
No, I was definitely already aware of that, but I think also also the last session when we talk about the integration and collaboration between sectors, I think, this multidisciplinarity is at the core of public health, and I think it should be everywhere.
And Ricardo, you were saying the wastewater, absolutely fascinating. They'll have to have you present next year about what you learned from studying the wastewater at festivals. I'd love to hear about that. But clearly, therefore, that had a direct relationship to your work. Did what you hear, does it change your thinking? What would you take away from that conversation?
No, I think that's part of the charm of Escaide is that you see things that you might already know, but they're being applied in a different way. So that's, I think, a part of the beauty of it. So identifying new opportunities for research, new opportunities for collaboration. I mean, Paul Griffith, the headquarters of MCDDA is in Lisbon, so I might go and knock on his door and ask if we can do something together about the festivals. But I think that networking part is also quite inspiring, and for an alumni from the EPIET program, it's almost like a family reunion every year, so it's
and
also
just
very
a
charming.
reminder to those of you in the room, and indeed most importantly those of you online. In the room you can connect with people by meeting up with them directly, but you can also use the platform to connect with other participants. So if there's someone here you wanted to meet tomorrow and have a chat with and you haven't bumped into them, if you're here, why not connect through there? And if you're online, make some of those connections now. But Mathilde, from your perspective, in terms of takeaways, things that you will take back for your work, is there anything that has made you think differently, or have you seen possibilities to collaborate that you might not have seen otherwise?
I think it's really much the same as you said, like it's strengthening that feeling how important it is to have these networks. It is this network of networks, and this is a hub where we meet and discuss. So just the importance of that we meet and discuss, and from different point of views, because we face so complex major challenges, so we cannot solve them alone. So we needed to, and now is the time for it.
Can I just end by asking you something a little more philosophical? Because we've been talking today and we've been hearing about tackling some of the consequences of the big global challenges we face. We were talking about the urban environment linked to climate change. We were talking about pandemics, and we're going to have a session tomorrow on pandemic preparedness. And we're talking very much today about those new approaches, the wastewater surveillance and the One Health collaborative approach. And I just wonder whether that makes you feel at the end of the day, and perhaps Ricardo, I'll start with you on this last question, does it make you feel, what you've heard, optimistic that this community, that the public health community, there are solutions within our grasp and this community can help to meet those challenges? Or are you feeling even more the enormity of that challenge and the scale of it, rather than yes, we can, as it were?
I think that there's also two sides to that question. On one hand, we feel that we might have solutions that may be implemented, but we also, on our daily basis, and regardless of what context we work, sometimes we feel that we're not getting the resources needed to address those issues. And even after this pandemic, where the role of public health somehow has been highlighted, and the advantage of preparing better would be, I would say, quite clear for the vast majority of the public, we are already seeing that the motivation or the ability to allocate resources to public health is quickly waning. So this is something that eventually we'll be discussing at the next pandemic, and I guess that everybody in the room is with an eye out for what's happening now in China, and a bit concerned on what's currently happening.
And that point about resources, I mean, certainly through monitoring the questions and the comments that have been coming in that I've been doing in the plenaries, I think the issue of limited resource keeps coming up. And you've really taken us back to our very opening session, where we had that challenge of prevention isn't sexy. How do you sell using resource for prevention? But from your perspective, Mathilde, will you go away from here optimistic that we can meet these challenges, or more pessimistic?
No, I think, well, a lot of the discussions today were about integration, and that gives me a lot of hope that we can tackle big challenges if we, for example, during lunchtime there was a side session of integration of surveillance in the EU, and I learned a lot about new initiatives that are ongoing, and I think this is really the way forward. If we want to tackle these big challenges, we have to collaborate and link the silos, maybe not break them because it's extremely difficult, but at least to link them.
Which again takes us very much back to where Andrea Ammon started yesterday morning, where she talked about that need to work together. Same question to you, Pika. Are you glass half full or glass half empty after 2 days of discussions? One more day to go, of course.
I'm always optimistic, but I think it's very important that in our discussions we somehow avoid peer frustration of the situation when there are the limited resources and challenges and silos, and go for peer support and finding those solutions. And I would like to highlight again the cross-agency task force on One Health, because that's, I mean, it's really an achievement. It's quite challenging for that kind of structures, organizations to work together, and now we have it, and so I think that gives like a good boost.
Well, thank you so much for helping us to end the day on an uplifting and positive note. Very, very much appreciated. And I'm sure we're going to come back on a number of these issues. You talked about frustrations and so on. You were talking about the multidisciplinary and some of the implications all of this has. I'm sure we're going to come back on many of these issues tomorrow morning in the session that starts at 9 o'clock on post-pandemic, the public health workforce. But don't forget, and where's my friend? I hope he's still here. I'm going to say the word bar camp.
Yeah.
Yay! Excellent. So, bar camp begins in just a few moments. Do stay if you can. Enjoy the session. Have a great evening. And I look forward to seeing you back here, 9 o'clock sharp, tomorrow morning, for those of you who can join us. Thank you in the room. Thank you those joining us online. Have a good evening.